Good morning. Welcome to Hard Rooster Labs, and today we're going to make that thing right there. Okay, cool. So we're going to do rim mod today. They're both kind of easy and just a bit different, so there can be a few challenges, but hopefully with this video we'll get through them pretty simply. So I've chosen what I've considered to be a fairly simple rim design. It's just a typical 5-spoke, well I guess there's 10 spokes, but I'm calling it 5 because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, basically 5 unique elements. And the way we're going to model this is we're going to just basically make a little sliver going from here to here. We're going to model this half of the rim right there, and then we'll mirror that half, and then we'll use an array to spin it around 5 times, and we will end up with a very cool looking little rim. Now I've already taken the liberty of lining this up. We don't need to cover how to line up empties and do all that kind of stuff. I am using the base level that I've made available to you guys. It has this wheel level in it with the wheel template. That's this guy here, which we will use to measure out our final rim. And there's a little wheel blank, which we'll use to go ahead and get started with. So let's jump right in. Get into side view. Now, let me go ahead and cover that real quick. Notice the orientation is slightly different. Since rims go on the side of the car, we're going to orient them rotated basically 90 degrees from where you might expect to do a mod. So a mod would be facing this way, but a rim is going to be going this way. So notice the x-axis this way and the y-axis this way. So everything's going to be 90 degrees off from what we're used to. So that's the first one. Other than that, mostly fairly similar. So I have this wheel blank. Let me take a look at the picture. Okay, so I'm going to start with kind of a little top lip here, and this dimension here is just kind of a buffer zone. I won't go any smaller than that, no matter what the rim looks like. So let me, I probably don't need any of these, so let me just delete all those, and we'll just start with this much of the rim. Alright, cool. So back into front view. It might take me a minute to get used to. I've been making fixtures for a while. So, okay, so let's see here. I'm going to pick that one there, and I could probably use maybe that one there. So let's grab all of these vertices here, and including those ones. I'll hit Control-I, X will delete those vertices. Alright, get back into front side view. This is side view, really. Looks like the front to me. Okay, so now that I have my little base started, what I'm going to do is add the mirror modifier, like so, and we're going to switch it from X to Y axis, like so. So now we have enough rim to do our first basic element. And now, let's go ahead and add our array. Let me hide this. I've got a little lug nut over here, which we'll use later, but I'm going to hide it for now since we don't need to see it. So I'm going to do an array and spin it around the array. And so what we'll do is we'll add an empty. So I'm going to go to the add menu, empty, I'm going to add a plane axis empty. Before I go too much further, let me go ahead and drag this wheel blank out into the base level so I can collapse all this. I don't need to see a whole bunch of stuff here. So I've got my empty and I've got my wheel blank. Let's go ahead and give it a name. Let's just call it rim today. So there we go. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's add clipping real quick, and let me collapse the mirror modifier. I'm going to add an array modifier, and you'll see we get this array out here. And that's not the direction we want to go, is it? But I do want 5, if you recall. I'm going to go around 5 times. So we'll up the count to 5. I'm going to get rid of relative offset. And instead, I'm going to use object offset. So I'm going to grab the little dropper here. You can do this one of 2 ways. You can grab the dropper or you can just find it. Grab the dropper and find your empty. Okay. So now what we can do is we can go over to our empty, click on the empty, and 360 degrees divided by 5 is 72. So we can rotate it 72 degrees on the x-axis. It didn't work because I never clicked object offset. So let's click object offset, and there we go. Now we have our circle. Let me go back into fronty sidey view, and the next thing, let me make sure that I'm on 3D cursor, is this may be too much too much mesh. So if let's see what happens if I delete these vertices. I get a little gap. That's a pretty good sized gap. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this like this. And on the array modifier, I'm going to click on merge. I'm going to rotate this again until they just touch, right about there. So that should give me a completed rim. And then all I need to do is make sure that all this is spaced out evenly. So I'm going to grab, in edge select mode, I'm going to grab this line, this line, this line. I'm going to right click and go to my loop tools and space them evenly. There we go. So now we can get cracking on the shape of this rim. So let me grab this bottom line here. Let me see. So since that's my buffer zone, I think what we'll do is we'll focus on this face, the part that sticks out the furthest the most. We'll just kind of draw, as it were, this face out a bit. So let's do that right now. Let's start with grabbing, say, these guys here, and we're going to scale them in. And I'm going to hit Shift X to make sure that I don't have anything scaling front to back. I want it to scale flat. So I'm just going to kind of pull it down until it meets up with this curvature right here. Let's go ahead and deselect them, and I'll keep scaling down a little bit. And you can see I've got this is getting kind of sharp. So let me scale one more time, maybe to here. Now we're going to add a little bit of geometry here so that we can clean up this line, and I'm going to add one to clean up that line there. Since we're not using subsurface modeling in rim making, we're just going to do basically our own subsurf. So we'll just subsurf essentially as necessary, if that makes any sense. It's hard enough to keep your vertice count under control as it is. So anyway, we're going to keep on moving here, and I'm still scaling in, but I'm getting a little offset. So I'm going to move that guy. I don't think I want to quite do that. Let me undo. I think I'm ready to start extruding some of this stuff. I don't know. Am I ready to start extruding some of this stuff? And if I move that there, and no, I think I just still want to scale. And what we'll do is we'll just kind of fix up our, we're going to end up with some odd reflections over here until we'll clean them up later though. And I think we'll just add like an edge loop like that, and we'll do something like this, and that might help. Otherwise I could do something like that, and we could flip it one more time. We'll do a straight line like this, and that should help us out with some of our reflections. But we don't have to worry about that quite yet. So here we are, going back into our orthographic view, that's right. Let's start extruding. So let's grab this, and I'm going to extrude it. I'm just going to kind of pull it down here, and let's do like a bounding box center, and I'll scale it something like that, something like here. And let's go ahead and extrude again, give it a quick rotate, and we'll scale it in a little bit more, put it in a position something like this, making sure I'm still flat. Still have a flat mesh. Yeah, good. I'm not messing up. Alright, so let's extrude again, and let's get this taper going down to here. Something like so. Okay, so we're already kind of got our thing going on here. Let's add a couple edge loops here. Let's add a couple edge loops here. Give ourselves some extra geometry to work with. And then from here, I'm basically going to trace this out this way, and this one's going to kind of come around this way. And I might be able to use a trick that we learned about recently. So let me go ahead, and I'm probably going to have to turn off clipping for a second. I don't want to leave it off. I just want to use it for a second. So let's try, instead of extrude, let's try duplicate. Put it here. I'll rotate it till it's straight up and down. Get it on this line here. We'll scale it up. Now let's try our bridge edge loops tool. All right, so we'll bridge edge loops, and we'll see what we can do with this right here. So let's give it a couple of cuts. And ooh, now let's try smooth this down. Let's make one cut. Yeah, I don't know if this tool is going to work out for us. We may just have to end up doing this manually. All right, so that's fine. We'll do it manually. Let's just throw a couple edge loops in here, like that. And I'll move this one down till it's about here, and we'll scale it. Actually, let me change to active element. Scale it along the Z. Maybe I'll give it a little rotate right there. Let's grab this one. Let's scale it just a bit like so. And that's kind of making this looks a little more hourglassy shape. So let's go back into bounding box center, and I'll scale that out so it's a little bit fatter, and the shape makes a little bit more sense to me. Okay, so now we have a basic roughed out shape. Yeah, it's not too shabby. I may want to add a little more geometry here. Let me go back into active element. Just kind of want to round that off a little bit there. And I may want to kind of do the same thing here. Just maybe round that up a touch so that I just have a nicer, smoother looking corner like this. Alright, great. So that gets us started. Let's work on this section here. So I'm just going to grab this guy here, and I'm going to hit extrude. And let's extrude it first just along the Z-axis. Alright, no, let's change this to, let's try bounding box. Let's scale it along the Z-axis first. And we'll try to get, oh cool, the top and the bottom meet up almost perfectly. So then let me go into active element, and we'll scale along the Y until we get our side into a decent position. Something like so. And that nearly perfectly matches, cool, the inside of the rim. Very, very close. And it's more important to have your mesh flowing smoothly than it is to match the rim perfectly. So let's go ahead and move that back along. That's going to be on the x-axis. And we'll kind of create our little inset there. Just kind of looking at the photo, seeing how deep that inset is. It's not super deep, but we kind of want to give it just a little bit of depth like that. How are we looking? Cool, that's a very, very good start. All right, so let's get back into our front view, and let's work on this section now, shall we? So we have kind of a double step going on here. So I'm going to basically do a couple of extrusions. So I'm going to do the first one, which will be following this line up to, we'll do a short kind of bevel here, and I'll try to like do something like this, right? So let's, how do I want to start with this? Let's maybe do bounding box. I'll extrude, I'll scale. Let me go ahead and just kind of move it over here because I'm getting a gap over here. And that's not a bad start. I'm going to have to clean up this stuff here. So I've got these two vertices that are going the wrong direction. So let's fix them up. Just real quick like. So let's see. Probably going to want to do something like this. Probably going to want to bring that one down. Probably going to want to bring this one more like in that general direction. Probably going to want to do something like this because I don't want to have crazy shaped quads. It cause me all kinds of reflection issues. I'm going to actually start tracing out this lug nut maybe a little bit. This is actually more of a D-shaped lug nut, isn't it, than a circular one. So let's kind of maybe do something like that. And we can finish this off, I think. We'll just go ahead and extrude this and make sure we're still on bounding box. We are. We'll give it a little rotate so these lines match up. We'll move it like so till it's down about here. Give this a little edge loop and tuck it in. And we'll deal with this circular shape later. We don't have to deal with the circle now. What we'll do is we'll end up, I'll show you another trick where we can just basically turn this into a circle. Anyway, so I'm not going to worry about the shape of that. It's not important. So anyway, yeah, I think I've got mostly, except I wanted this to be a lot closer. So I think I'll maybe give it a shear first. Let's do active element, and let's shear it like this. So that I kind of basically taper it off, and that's mostly right. I just want to slide that one in. Maybe there. I kind of wanted that to be the shape of the lug nut, but I think we'll do that on the next extrusion. So just for now, we'll do that. Let me go ahead and maybe round this off a little bit. more interested in making it look round than I'm in making it look just like the picture. Alright, so let's grab this again. Okay, back to bounding box scaling. And we'll go ahead and give it an extrude, and we'll scale it. You can see I'm getting that little gap again. It's fine, though. We'll just move it in like so. Like that. Now let me check it out in X-ray mode. It's a bit wide, so let me try. Let me just grab these, starting from here to here, and I'm just going to start moving them out until I'm kind of how far back they need to go. It should go back quite a ways, actually. So let's just keep moving them out here. Looking at the top mostly, and then let's get this bottom situated. And so, yeah, I'm still not too excited with this section here. I don't want to have these super long shapes if I can avoid it. So maybe I'll just tuck these in. Maybe something like that. Just kind of tuck those guys in there for now. And let's slide this one down until it's about there. And let's see, how does our shape look? Well, I'm probably going to need to set it in if I'm going to actually see what it looks like. So let's do that. Let's, actually I think both of these need to be set in a little bit. So we're going to grab the first one, right? And let me change clipping real quick to more like 1 centimeter instead of 10. And yeah, so let's grab this and we'll move it down a little bit to X. We'll give it a slight inset. We'll deselect this line. I'll give this one a bigger inset, kind of like we did with the other back one. And I'm going to actually line them up. So let's grab the back one. And I'm happy with where this one is, so I'm going to go active element, and I'm going to go scale X0 and make sure that they're both in the same location. Alright, so how's that looking? Okay, I think that'll give me about what I'm looking for. I mean, we'll deal with doing some bevels and sharpening up these corners here in a second. I just want to get this shape mostly roughed out. So I guess we can just work on this area here, because that's about all that's left to do. Yeah, I just got to decide how I want to do it. I think it'll be simplest if I go like... Just, let me actually grab these and slide them up a little bit. That'll do that without wrecking my geometry. That's probably pretty good. Because I kind of want to just add one more edge loop in here. And that way I've got a little bit more to work with. So let's grab this, that, and maybe this one. Yeah. So let's give it an extrude. I want to scale Y0, and then I want to rotate it about like so. Kind of get it into position here. I need to rotate it just a little bit more. Just like that, so these guys kind of meet up. Maybe I can scale this way a little bit to straighten it up. Okay. And then I'm going to need just one edge loop right here. And then we should be able to face this up, face that up, and then face that up. So that basically gives us that. And then, let's see, give this a little bit of thickness. So let's grab this entire ring, and I'm just going to extrude it back just a little bit along the x-axis, just straight. And we'll do the same thing, I think, with here so that we keep consistency. Just extrude on the x. Do that. Make sure we have active element. We do. We will scale X0. Make sure they're both in the same location. Alright, and so that'll give us a little bit of depth to our rim. And we'll deal with lug nuts and everything else here in a second. So, alright, cool. That basically gives us our roughed out shape. So let's give it some definition. So let's start throwing some bevels in. I'll grab this guy here. Let me make sure I got clipping back on. And we can actually start turning on this kind of a view here. If we click on these guys in our modifiers, we'll actually be able to see the other half of our selection, and this will help us with setting in bevels in case we get some funkiness with our bevels. So let's go ahead and throw a bevel in here real quick, and I'm going to make like a 3-part bevel, and it should look about like that. So that'll clean up that edge. Now this is a bit chunky. I don't like how chunky that is, so let's clean up this line right there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to edge slide a couple of these over. to make room so that I can kind of, yeah, that should give me enough room, and that'll help me there. Okay, good. I'll just grab these guys. I'm going to move them right about there. All right, that'll be good. That is all the smoothness we need for a video game rim. All right, so let's do the same thing over here. Let's do another bevel. And so you can see this one's going this way and like that. So I'm going to actually go merge first and last. I'm going to highlight this so I can actually see everything that's going on. And ooh, that creates a little bit of an issue because the merge distance is too high. So let's set it to something like 0.5 millimeters. There. If you have the merge distance too high, it'll merge all kinds of stuff that you don't want merging together. So now I can actually see everything that's going to get beveled. It'll bevel cleanly when I do it. So let's just pick a section here and kind of observe. And try to make the bevel about the same size as the bevel on the other side. There we go. That cleans that up. And we need a bit more definition looking at the rim here. There's some definition in here. So we're going to do the same thing with this line. Right there. Make sure we get the entire line selected. We'll give it a bevel. We'll give it a bevel. We will, I promise, give it a bevel. Alright, cool. Yeah. Alright, great. That's looking good, isn't it? Nice, simple looking rim. Alright, so let's deal with, we talked earlier about some of these top reflections here, so let's go ahead and tighten some of these up. Let me throw one edge loop in here. Let me throw one edge loop going like this, lined up to the top. Let's see if that helps us out. That does quite a bit. We probably need to bring this one down to kind of frame this a little bit. And yeah, that'll work nicely. I may want to slide these up a bit because I don't necessarily need this frame right here. I don't want to create a tight reflection there. I just want it to be tight around there, and it is. The bevel creates the rest of the tightness that we need. Very good. Very, very good. All right, so that takes care of the basics of the rim. All we got to do is, you know, make this circle happen and make these lug nuts happen, and we'll be mostly done here. We'll be totally done, really. So let's see, how do I want to go about finishing this up? I think we'll go ahead and apply our modifiers because we're done with anything that we need here. So let's apply the mirror. Let's apply the mirror, apply the array, and let's double check and make sure that we didn't end up with any kind of weirdness in the join areas. We want to make sure that we didn't get any doubles. We want to make sure that it didn't merge funny. We want to make sure that it didn't not merge as well. So let's start grabbing some of these guys here. And oh, you know what? Well, we can fix that right now. We'll just I find this to be a little bit pointy, but it's fine. We'll just scale it in until it's a little more. Actually, hold on. Back to 3D cursor. We'll scale along the X. Scale it in until it looks about like that. And we also need to give this thing a little bit of shape because I'm pretty sure that this rim kind of juts out a little bit this way and then comes back in. So let's throw a little bit of shape into it. We can go ahead and delete our empty. We don't need it anymore. Or just hide it. Either or. You can save it for later if you want. And then let's give this some shape. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to grab this circle here. No, actually I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to grab the top couple of circles like that. And I'm going to go into side view, which is now front view. All right, yeah, like that. And I'm going to enable proportional editing. Let's enable proportional editing. Smooth is probably pretty good. I'm going to get out of side view actually. Then we're going to move it out on the X, and let's start with, I think the first thing I want to do, smooth may not be what I want. I think I might want, maybe I want sphere. Going this way, please. Sphere is definitely not what I'm looking for, is it? Okay, let's try another one. Let's try root. That's not the one I'm looking for either. Actually, I can probably use root for the inset. So let's use root for the inset, like that, and then we'll go back to smooth. And we'll just make it smaller. And we'll do something like this. To give us our basic in and out shape. Okay, that should be just fine. Now that kind of made these guys a little bit unflat, as it were. So I'm just going to select them all, I think. Let's make whatever the high point is, probably here. And I'm going to go to active element. I'm going to hit scale X 0. Oh, actually, I need to turn off editing. All right, so scale X 0 so that those are flat again. I don't want those to be flat. I want my lug nut holder sections to be flat. All right, now that we've done that, let's go ahead and make this into a circle. So I think the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to give this an attempt. Space that evenly, and then we're going to hit, all right, so I'm going to hit the hotkey Alt, Shift, and S, and that's going to help me pull this into a circle. So you'll get this 2-sphere, factor 1, proportional editing is disabled, and that should get me into a perfect circle. A little bit of a chunky circle, but that's fine because we've built kind of a low poly rim, which was the goal. So now all we got to do is kind of create just a generic, we're not going to do any designs or anything. Oh, you know what might have helped that? This is looking, is it crooked? Let me get in a side view, and let me make sure that this looks maybe a little flat to me. Let's make sure we got an active element. Let's SY0. Pretty flat. Whoops, we did the wrong, that's why. We did the wrong direction. Try back in the side view. Let's try SY0. Did I just do that? SX0. There, I moved it a little bit. So I don't want it to be crooked. So we have some crookedness going on here from what was most likely the proportional editing that we did. But it should be fine because that's actually, oh, that actually will look just fine. So let's give this in frontish view here. We'll give this an extrude. We'll scale it using 3D cursor. Scale it so that we get something like this. Go ahead and throw an edge loop in here, and I'm going to move this back, and I'm going to give that a sharp edge like that. Come down here, go to normals, click on auto smooth, give it something like 120 degrees, and that should be good. And then I'm going to give this one, so let me select the whole ring, and I'm going to give this a bevel. Kind of clean up the reflection there a bit. Whoops, I missed one. That looks like it looks funny right there. Give that a bevel, and that should help out with reflections there. And we're going to extrude and scale Shift X, oops, with bounding box center, not bounding box, but 3D cursor, scale Shift X, bring it down to about there, and give this guy a bevel right now. And then I'll just grab these and I will merge them at the center. And that will give us our fairly generic looking cap. Alright. Cool, that should look pretty decent. Let's assign some materials to this now. Let's go, not vertex groups, sorry. We're going to add materials. Oh, we already have materials added to it. I forgot about that. Cool. So in order to do that, let me do this. I'll hit like so. Yeah, should have done that before I applied the mirror. I'll make a note about that in the video. So anyway, there we go. That gives us a couple of materials, about like so. Cool. Yeah, all right, let's throw some lug nuts on here. And I already have a lug nut supplied in the wheel level kit. All we gotta do is grab that. And let's zero out its location real quick. Let's tab into edit mode, and move it into rough position. And get in the front view here. Do something like this. Make sure it clips through just a touch. Just a touch like that. Doesn't need to clip through much. Maybe we'll clip it through a little bit more. Let's grab this and pull it out just a little bit. There, that'll give us a lug nut. And now we need to give it an array, which should be pretty simple since we kept our empty. Didn't we? Here it is, yeah. We kept our empty, and it's already at 72 degrees. All we have to do is go to our lug nut and come over to modifiers and add an array modifier. Give it a count of 5. Go to object offset, and then there we go. Have 5 perfectly placed lug nuts. Yeah, very good. Now we can just go and apply that array. I'll take this. Let's go ahead and hide the empty. We don't need that again. Let's take that, Control J, join them together, and bada bing, bada boom, wheel. That's it. That's the model. So now all we have to do is apply our shape keys. So let's get this, where's my image empty? Let's get the image empty out of the scene, so I don't need to see that. And let's get our wheel template fired up, right there. Okay, so, back up 1 second. So one more thing we need to add to this wheel, and that is kind of like a hub interface. We just need something to interface with the actual car body. So all I have to do that is grab, I don't know, any one of these circles will be fine. I'll shift to duplicate it. I'll move it out to about here. Scale it using 3D cursor. Scale it something like this. So it's a bit, to me, it should be a little bit bigger than the ring and the lug nuts, just to kind of make sense. But smaller than, obviously, the visible areas of the rim, because you don't want to see it. Right, and we're just going to kind of locate it right about here is probably okay. And let's extrude that out, about like so. And we'll have to smooth shade them real quick. Smooth faces. I'm going to have to check our normals on all of this. I haven't done that yet. Let's check our normals by doing face orientation, and oh, check it out, everything is already set to go. Oh, what luck. Alright, let's turn that off. Alright, and then now we can get out our wheel template. Alright, so the first thing I should do is get into side view, and I'm going to line up the hub with the back side of the wheel template hub right here. Now, as long as you're smaller or the same size as this hub, you're fine. You just don't really want to be bigger than it, because then you'll engulf the brakes, and it'll look bigger than the brakes. It'll look a little funny. So this is, the diameter of this is basically this or smaller, but not too small that it's cartoony, right? So make it about right about there. So that gives our alignment there, and then we want to make sure that the entire rim, I can deselect this now, go back inside, doesn't really be inside view. I want to make sure the entire rim is located in line with this section right here, like so. And you'll see that the wheel template right up here that we started this wheel with is already at the exact same width that we need. All you have to do is get it in the exact position once you're done making it. So that gets us our base position. And I have an issue. As you can see, I made this rim and it's too far inset, so it's clipping through, which means that if I put this in the game right now, the hub for the car would be poking through my rim. So we're going to have to fix that with some proportional editing. So let me go ahead and we'll tab in here, and we're basically going to kind of do what we did before. Is first thing I want to do is I don't want to ruin my lug nuts. We're going to fix this with some proportional editing, but I'm going to wreck my lug nuts if I do that. So the first thing I want to do is kind of grab them, and let me hide this template so I can actually see them. I'm going to hit Control plus until I have the whole thing selected, and I kind of need to do the same thing with here, because this is actually a couple of pieces. Alright, hit Control plus until everything in the lug nut is selected. I'm just going to hide it. Hit H to hide. And I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to hit Control plus until this whole ring here is selected. And I might want to keep on going. So right about there. That's probably about where I actually need to be. And I'll deselect, I don't need this extra line. So we'll deselect that, work my way around, deselecting those. And I think now that I've done that, I can actually, I can unhide the lug nuts. Since I have them selected, they're not going to get bent around. And that's what I'm trying to avoid. I'm trying to avoid bending and warping the lug nuts. I want them to stay flat. And I also want this section back here where the lug nuts stick to be flat. So with this selected now, let's go ahead and throw the template back on. We'll throw on proportional editing mode. We'll enable that. I also do that with the O hotkey. And we're just going to move it out. Probably going to grab as much of the rim as I can without actually influencing the this section here. I don't want that to actually move. So have a good look at that. It's moving. Right about there is where I need to be. So let's go ahead and pull this out until we no longer have clipping issues with the hub. So there we go. Now it looks a little bit funny, but you got to figure this is the narrowest possible variation of this rim. It's like an 85 series width. It's a couple inches wide. It's nothing to it. So it's going to look a little funny. Don't sweat it. We'll get it looking right. So I'm going to grab that. Since I did proportional editing, I forgot to hide this. I need to bring that back out. So let's bring that back out with proportional editing off by hitting O. Alright, bring that back out until we're lined back up. Hey, look, it's a little bit crooked. So since it's a little crooked, let me go to active element, scale X0, and let's finish getting that lined up. Cool. Alright. So now we're not going to have any clipping issues. We can see that the rim is sitting on top of the hub instead of the hub clipping through the rim. That's what we want. Alright, so now let's go ahead and add our shape keys. We need 3 of them. We need our basis, then we need scale, and we need offset. Alright, we'll do scale first because that's the easiest one. A little note about modifying with shape keys. Make sure when you do your modification of the rim size, you have the proper shape key selected. If you're on basis and you try to set your scale shape key, you're just going to be changing the base rim, you're kind of wrecking your model. So we want to make sure that we leave the basis alone. That's what we have here. And we're going to click on scale, and let's scale this up. And making sure that I have 3D cursor selected, just going to go ahead and throw S, and we're going to scale it up until we get some kind of average clipping through this outside rim. All right, now I'm going to go into the rim side view, and I'm just going to move the rim along the x-axis until the hub lines up again, because the hub got stuck way out here. So we want to line the hub up to where the hub is initially. I'm going to deselect the hub line, and that came out, I didn't quite get that right. Let's tighten that up just a touch. Okay, now I'm going to line up this back line. So let's move this back line back, about like so. I'm going to deselect the back line. Now I have to just line up the front of the rim. So I'm just going to pull that in until it lines up with the front. Just like that. Cool. Alright, so now if I tab out into object mode, I can come over here to this value slider as long as I have scale selected, and I can test the scaling of the rim. Pretty simple, right? Not much to it. Cool, so now I'm going to go into offset mode, and when you're in edit mode now, you can switch into just scaling and you'll see the results of your efforts. I'm scaling there to offset. So now we're in offset mode. And what I want to do here is I want to actually grab some of these outer rims, I think. Control++, about like so. And we're going to do proportional editing again, making sure that we don't affect so much of this rim. Let's see, move it out on the Z, that we don't want to move the lug nut, so it should already be kind of set to that. Let's see, one more click and it's moving the lug nut, so we don't want to do that. And I think maybe this might have been better, this might be better off if I actually select what I had selected in the first place. So let's do that. There. So what we ought to be able to do is basically kind of unwarp what we have warped. And we'll do that with our proportional editing. Let's just push it back for now. put it back where it belongs, where it came from. All right, something probably came. I think it was right about there to begin with. So I'm going to grab the whole thing and move it out. Turn proportional editing off for a second. And I'll just move it out like this. And then we can grab this guy, hit plus plus, turn proportional editing back on, and let's give it a pull along the x-axis like so until we have kind of a deep dish look. Let me go ahead and hide this template. It's blocking my view. So we get kind of the deep dish look that we would want for our most extreme variation of this rim, which might be something like that. All right, turn the wheel template back on. Let's make sure that the back has become misaligned again, which is pretty normal when doing this stuff. So let's realign it, turn proportional editing off, get this lined up back with the hub, hit Control I and select the rest of the rim. And from here, we'll just move it out. With no proportional editing, we'll line that up right there, about like so. And that should give us our offset. So let me hide the wheel template. And there we go. So anyway, yeah, we can test these both at the same time. And you can see how everything looks. Bada bing, bada boom. Alright, cool. That is pretty much it. It's that simple. Let's go ahead and give it a quick export. I'm going to hit, actually, I'm going to triangulate it and everything first. So tab in to basis mode, select everything, do our U. We're going to cube project just like we do the fixtures. Set the cube size to 2, and that should take care of that. And then you can go ahead and triangulate it. Let me make a backup of it first. So I'm going to Shift D, make a duplicate. I'm going to call this backup just in case I need to come back and do something later. Backup. And I'll hide that, make sure that I got this. Now I will triangulate it. Let's do something like fixed. And bam, let's export it. F2, export, FBX. Same thing as before, selected objects. It's all the same. Face, tangent space, tick off leaf bones. Give me a moment while I make a folder for it. Okay, we'll put it there. I'm just going to call it rim mod. And yeah, let's export it. There we go. Alright, so we're back in the Unreal editor today, and the rim mods are a little bit different, and there's some different steps for doing the thumbnails. And there's a new one. The wiki's just been updated. It's different from the old method we used to do, so let's just jump right in and do it. Let's create our mod from up here. We're going to do, instead of new fixtures, we're doing a new rim. Let's give it a name of HRL Sweet Mod. Sweet Rim Mod. Not modest at all. Hard Rooster Labs will be the author. Description, it's a rim. Alright, let's create that mod. Give it a second to load up and give us a blueprint to work with. And we're going to hit this little folder. Here we go. And where are we at? I called it Sweet Grill Mod, didn't I? Where did it go? There it is, HRL Sweet Rim Mod. Sorry, lost it for a second. So you get all this stuff, and you don't need any of this. So all we need is the blueprint right here. So I'm going to delete these guys, just delete them. I'm going to rename my blueprint to something like, I don't know, Sweet Rim Mod. Hello. Hello. Let's go. Sweet Rim Mod underscore blueprint. Whatever. Okay, so, alright, let's go ahead and import our mod. We've got to find it first. Let's see, I'll probably put it in here somewhere. There we are, HRL Rim Mod. I'm going to open that up, and there she is. I'm going to open that. And so, when you get your import options, skeletal mesh is not immediately ticked, but it needs to be. You need to tick skeletal mesh. Let's see, and then we're going to come down. Let's make sure everything is set as it should be. I'm probably going to expand that. And yeah, preserve smoothing groups, import morph targets, that's right. Import normals and tangents, that's correct. So that is good. Down here, all assets, nothing should be just fine. Let's go ahead and import it. Get a little error as always, no big deal. All right, let's save what we got. Let's click on our asset, and we've got a few steps to do here. First thing we got to do is assign our materials, and the rims have their own specific materials. Wheel primary and wheel secondary. And the best way to find these is in the search bar. Something like EL_P should give us wheel primary. And then again, same thing in the search bar. EL_S should give us wheel secondary. And it's as simple as that for that. There's one new thing that has to be done. We didn't have to do this before, but we have to do this now since 4.21. And that's assign a physics asset. Now, it already exists. All you have to do is come down here to where it says none and type in the word rim, and you'll see rim physics asset right here. This one, you won't have this one. You'll just get one of them. And so you're going to assign that. Although if you don't do that, the mod won't cook. It'll error out. So anyway, let's go ahead and save that. And we can close that mod there. We're going to open up our blueprint now. All right, so with the blueprint open, all we have to do is grab our rim mod, and we're going to replace the existing scalable mesh that came with it with ours. I'm going to give it a unique UID, and I think that's all I have to do, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, everything else should be set to go. We're going to compile it, save it, and close. All right, time for the next step. We're going to open up, and there's a couple ways to do this. I like to use the Control-O hotkey. Otherwise, you can come up here to open level. It's the same thing. You get the same text box. Come up here, and we're going to look for the thumbnail generator level. Easiest way to get it, I think. You can also sift through the menu here and find it in Developer Sandbox. But this is easy enough. So there's a couple things that are a little bit different with doing the rim mods, especially now. Now there's a specific rim level, and my mic in my way actually. So it's down here, wheel thumbnail generator. This is new. It used to use the fixture thumbnail generator. Now we use this one, so that's new. And then the other thing you have to do is simulate, which is this little guy with little gears on it. If you've got something that looks like just the play icon, which you might when you start it up, just this one, you have to come down here and simulate. Another way to do this is just go click in the viewport and hit Alt-S, and you'll begin simulating. So let me scroll on down to the wheel thumbnail generator, and as you see, if we open this up, there's 20 rims in here. Well, we don't want to get 20 thumbnails, we just want one, right? So same thing, just trash all of those and make one new rim element. Grab your blueprint, come over here and click on that little arrow. It'll self-populate the box, and then we can generate wheel thumbnail. Okay, once that's done, we can stop, and we can jump into our blueprints. Let's make sure we save those just in case, and we should be ready to export and just share our mod the same way we have done before. Give it into your folder, publish it to the workshop, or stick it in the folders. The other video covered that, where to go from here. Before I sign off, let's take a look at what it looks like in the game. All right, well, here we are in game, looking at our rim with kind of a more modest size that you might expect to find. All we got to do is test it out and see how it looks at the extremes. So let's crank up this wheel as big as we can get it, or crank up the tire, then crank up the wheel. We can get that wheel all the way to 27 inches with a rubber band on it. All right, let's make it skinny. All right, looks ridiculous, but what we're checking for is to make sure that it's not poking out the top of the rim here and that we don't have any clipping going on, and we don't. So that's working right. So let's go ahead and do something more like this and get the rim diameter back down to something. Let's go the other opposite. Let's go to 10. Make it super fat. All right. So kind of the same idea. Checking to see the gap is looking good there. As skinny as we can. Looking all right there. Let's crank the wheel size back down to something a little more normal. Something that's 17 inches on this car is probably about right. 17 or 18 inches. Maybe make it a 45 size tire, and we can make it a fat boy. We can make it a skinny boy. And there we go. There's our rim. Not too shabby, huh? Not too bad for a quick little job. It didn't take very long. I'm going to go ahead and throw this on the workshop so you can mess with it. And that'll take care of it, I think. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask them in the comments below. And if you find this tutorial useful, like and subscribe so more people can find it. And I'll see you guys on the next one.